Yo guys, what is up? Today is Monday the 31st, closing out August, and today we're going to take a look at order books. Something that we've likely all seen before, but may not really know what we're looking at. So today we're going to take a look, we're going to talk about the basics, why there is an order book, and potentially how we can use it to our advantage in trading. So let's hop into it. This is a site we're probably all pretty familiar looking at. On the left here, this is Coinbase Pro. On the left here, we see the order book. On the right, we see trade history. And in the middle, we see this strange red and green chart. So what is an order book? An order book is made up of three things. The bid, which is buy orders, the ask, which is sell orders, and the spread, which is in between. You can see here, I'm not logged in. You can see here, right above me, USD spread, 0.01. That means the difference between the ask and the bid, that's changing like crazy, but at the time was 1 cent. A bid is a buy. So how do you get into the order book? There are two types of orders in general without getting too specific, and that is a taker and a maker. Maker orders are limit orders, and those orders make it into the order book. Taker orders are market purchases or sells, and they are not in the order book, but they are reflected on the right side here on trade history. So an order book is essentially a queue. It's a line. When I make a bid, or let's say the price is 11,700 right now, if I put a limit buy order at 11,500, my order will appear down here in the bid section at 11,500. A lot of people have been complaining, and this has always been true, when exchanges go down and they're unable to make a trade or a move, that seems unfair, and it is. However, if you have a limit order already queued up in the order book, it will still execute. Now, an important aspect is a buy order can only be set into the order book below current market price. A sell order can only be set above current market price in the order book. In theory, it should be impossible for price to go past your buy or sell, your ask or bid, if it's in the order book and not be filled. So it's a very valuable tool to know and to use to avoid the situation where your exchange goes down and you're unable to make a trade. Every exchange has their own order book. This one's Coinbase Pro. This one's kind of hard to see, so I have a few others pulled up. So Coinbase Pro's order book is going to be different than, say, Binance's. It's going to be different from Kraken's, different from Gemini. Each order queued up is unique to that exchange. Another way we look at order books, other than this dizzying array of flashing numbers and such, is the depth chart. The depth chart is right here in the middle. It's the green and red. And what this is a visual representation of what is in the order book. You can use these plus and minus buttons to zoom in and out, and you'll see the farther out you zoom, flatter it looks, and that's because you're seeing orders farther back. If we zoom out all the way, we can see bid orders all the way down to 2,900 and sell orders all the way out to 20,400. So how might we use this in trading? For the sake of visual simplicity, we'll use the depth chart here. You can see how this is not smooth on either side. There are bumps and crevices. These bumps are called walls, and they're where either a single large order is made or placed, or where many small orders are placed. So on the depth chart, the red side is the ask and the green side is the bid. So green is people looking to buy under market price and they have their orders set. And the red is people looking to sell above market price and their orders are set. On the right side, on the red, we call these sell walls. You can see one here at 12,500. If you hover over an area, so we're hovering over 12,500, we can see just how many units or Bitcoin or whatever it is we're trading are for sale at that price, and how many or how much order it would take to get to that price. So we look at 12,500. We see that there are 1,450 Bitcoin for sale. And that is a total on Coinbase from current market price to 12,500. You can see that's roughly $17.3 million on the end. 17.3 million, and we see that bump at exactly 12,500 of a large order. We can see the difference, which we would be able to see here in the order book. We would see large orders here. It looks like there's about 200 Bitcoin for sale specifically at 12,500, and that's what we call a sell wall. On the buy side, we don't see quite the same wall, but we do see one down here at 11,000 with 950 Bitcoin queued up to be bought, down to 11,000, about $10 million, and we see that bump again. This one's much smaller, maybe only 100 Bitcoin, and this is called a buy wall. Many people try to trade based on the order book. I do not recommend it personally. Especially in crypto, order books are ripe with what they call spoof orders, I believe. And you can see it happening in real time right here. We're very zoomed in. The order book also has the plus and minus buttons similar to the depth chart. And we would be able to change the units that we're looking at. And we're going to look at Binance here in a second because we can actually manipulate it while not logged in. Hopefully this might be a little easier to see, maybe not. So again, we see the bid side, and we can see the units for the units that are queued up to be bought at each level. And on the top, we can see the ask side, the units that are lined up to be sold at each level. And up here at the top, we see what is the size of orders, so the precision that we're looking at. You can see here it's by the cent. Looking at it by the cent will give you some kind of brain damage, so don't do that. I would say $10 is a little better, and what this does is instead of seeing every order at every different penny, down to the penny setting, we see them aggregated into easier to digest columns. So we have current price is 11,686, and so 11,688 to 11,690. Oh, that just left. So what it's doing is showing us how many Bitcoin are in limit sells or in an ask up to this price. So 11,700, there's currently 33. This fluctuates back and forth very quickly because, as I said, spoofing or fake orders, which are orders that usually are placed by bots or algorithmic trading, are constantly popping up and dropping, trying to balance out the order book. So if the order book is all limit buys, meaning they're set at a price, then how does price move? And that's where the second type of order comes in, called a taker order. Taker orders are market buys, so you're buying at the price, and what market does is it eats into, so a market buy would eat into the ask column, and a market sell would eat into the bid column. And that's how price moves. I don't know if this is going to be simpler or not for everybody, but this is a plainer view of what we were just looking at in the order book. And we can see here the price that people are looking to buy and the price that people are looking to sell. To reiterate, it should be impossible to have a limit order at 11,701. It should be impossible for price to go to 11,702 without filling your limit sell for your ask. As I was saying earlier, every exchange has its own order book, its own queued up orders of where people are looking to buy and sell. Unfortunately, this site was down, but we do have something that's a little more useful than this, because those flashing numbers are very difficult. It's very difficult to even look at. This is called Tensor Charts. Tensor Charts is an old, at least in crypto old, meaning a few years. And what Tensor Chart does is it attempts to track orders. We were talking about how those orders are spoofed, they go up, they go down. Well, Tensor Chart, and I can't tell you the math behind it, how it does this, but it attempts to track where those orders are and where those orders are likely to be. You can see this by the different colored lines that represent a certain price value. So we see these dots, and those represent limit sells at 11,900, maybe 12,000 to just round it. So if you're gonna trade order books, you can do yourself a favor, check out Tensor Charts, because it's going to give you a more visual and easier to digest form of looking at order books. This is the site that is currently not loading for me. It loaded this morning and now it won't. But this is data.bitcoin.idi.org. And when it does, I have a screenshot of it. But when it does load, what it does is it combines the order book data from multiple exchanges, pretty much all of the heavily frequented ones, and it will look something like this. Using this in Tensor Charts, I think, would be probably the only way to even attempt to trade at the order book, or based on the order book. As you can see here, Bitstamp, Bitfinex, GDAX, meaning Coinbase Pro, Kraken, Itbit, I've never heard of, Gemini. So what it does when that site is loading is it takes all of the order books that we looked at and more, and it piles them up to show a more holistic view of the order books, because a lot of this trading is done algorithmically or through bots. And so what will happen is bots will send or arbitrage, they will attempt to profit from the discrepancies across exchanges. And what you'll see is if there's a large market order, say on Bitstamp, a large market sell or buy, these algorithms will try to move units to the different exchanges to stabilize the price or profit off of the differences between them. So I really wish that this site was working. It's really great. It's a really great tool. They also have a lot of other great stuff here too, if you check them out. Data specific to crypto. And so now we have a little overview of order books. How can we use this to our advantage? Well, unfortunately, it's not quite what it appears. One would assume back here on Coinbase. Oh, there we go. That at 12,500, maybe putting a sell order right before there would be a smart move, because there's not a lot of liquidity up to that price. And by putting an order there, it might seem intelligent that it won't take as much for that order to fill versus even putting it a few dollars higher over this sell wall. However, it does not seem to be very reliable. Bot trading commonly will create these walls in order to bait orders in front of them. So down here on the buy side, we see a little buy wall at 11,000. This order for what looks like maybe 100 Bitcoin at 11,000. If we saw market price sell off to that level, we could see that order immediately be pulled right before it would start filling. And that happens honestly more often than not. So as an overall thing, even though we spent time looking at it, because I think this is important to understand what is going on in the market you're trading, order books really aren't that useful. The reason for that is it's not human actors doing most of these, putting up and taking down most of these walls or orders. And usually when you do see them, they're intended to manipulate or bait orders into a bad position. So I hate to say it, but the best way to trade with order books is to not use them. If you're going to use them, I highly recommend you check out this Tensor chart. There's another site called Trading Light that does this as well. And this can give you real information versus the order book, say on Coinbase or Binance, which is mostly just fake orders and robots trying to get on the right side of the trade. The Tensor chart, I really don't know how they accomplish it. I think they just kind of track where orders are placed and pulled. But you'll see if you watch this over time that this is actually surprisingly accurate. Like suggesting here that there's some resistance at 12,000. The brighter these squares are, I think it's the more dense the orders. So in these yellow areas, we saw heavy sell orders placed at 12,000, 12,140. And what's interesting here is that on Coinbase, we saw that sell wall at 12. What was it? Was it just at 12 or 12.5? May have already moved. Okay, 12.5 we saw right here. What's interesting is on Coinbase we see the sell wall at 12.5, but then on Tensor Charts we actually don't see. Tensor Charts is suggesting that 12.5 is actually not a resistance. And as it paints candles, you'll see new data appear. You can adjust what time frame you're on. I wouldn't recommend zooming into like the 15-minute. This becomes a trippy space view of data. But I think on the 1 day that this is a really strong tool. I think this really is, and I think any trader who's getting into crypto, especially with how order books are, this is going to be something you want to look at. Ideally, at some point this will work. I don't know why it stopped working, just to screw me over this morning. That's fine. But when this site does work, bitcoin.idi.org, it is a great tool. I recommend checking that out. Maybe try to pull the page up. Maybe it'll work for you guys. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think the only extra piece of information is over here on the trade history. This isn't my trade history. This is every order going on in the order book with limit orders and market orders. That's everything. Wrap it up. Order books, not that great. They are local to exchange. They're made up of bids, asks, and spread. I guess I can go on about spread a little bit. Spread is something that every trader needs to be aware of. It seems that the spread is very small currently. about $1 on Binance USDT. And the reason that it's important to pay attention to, now it's 1 cent, is because this is how many exchanges like Robinhood can claim 0 fees yet make money. Because they're actually making money on the spread. The difference between the buy and the sell can generate revenue simply by executing orders at the buy price and the sell price. And they basically pocket what's in between. We'll get into that at another time in more in depth. I didn't really prepare for it. But the spread is, you can consider it in a simple term as a fee that you can't see. And it rhymes, so now you'll never forget it. The fees you can't see. And yeah, and a depth chart. So yeah, depth chart and order book is the same thing. So if you ever hear either of those words, they're referring to the same thing. The depth chart is just showing it to you in a more visually digestible format. All right. I think that wraps it up. There's a quicker learning lesson today, which is good because I'm feeling the spice today. I don't know about you guys. I think I might be back to 100%. Been kinda under the weather maybe the last few days, and Spicy Sunday, closing the month. We're definitely gonna see something great. We're gonna see something spicy. I don't know about great, but spicy. Looks like Bitcoin has followed our pattern. As we were talking about a few days ago, fib retraces. We saw a swing high and a swing low. And I don't know, 2-3 days ago, placed this 0.5 retrace and said that's where it's heading. And we hit it this morning. So this wasn't even really skill. This call was as simple as using our fib retracement tool, putting it at the swing high, taking it down to the swing low, bam, 0.5. Almost every time, every time you have a swing high and a swing low, price returns to 0.5. I would say, I can't give you a perfect statistic on that, but greater than 50% of the time, it retraces at least to the 50% level, which means it gives up half of the price change that it made.